I'm going nuts. Look at me.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
All right, we can do. Hey there. Hi.
You guys really saw the sausages made for those intros.
Hey guys.
Welcome everybody to Burbs Bros. Hello. Just as Sean said, Sean looks very cute in his bodega shirt.
My Bodega Cat whiskey. This is
Cat shirt.
This is our friend. This is Sam Morrill and Mark Norman's company. Bodega Cat whiskey. I've had it. It's very good. I'm a whiskey person.
It's good.
Yeah. And I got a free shirt at a Christmas party at the Comedy Cellar with this.
Nice. I love those guys, man. Friends of the show. Mark's been on the show. Sam will be on the show at some point.
Yeah.
Hopefully. But I wanted to, look, Sean, you and I are pretty similar politically, right? And we said there would be no politics on this podcast, which obviously that's not true because we're doing UAPs now. It's impossible not to talk about politics. But I don't know if you thought of this. With all the disastrous Epstein news this past weekend, is there a chance, and I think it's a substantial chance, that we get disclosure just to get the attention off this?
Well, what's the theory? The Epstein stuff, the tariffs now, the new tariffs are to get minds off of the Epstein stuff, and he's I think he's finally melting down Trump a little bit. He's not that he hasn't before, but he's tweeting, or whatever it's called, Truth Socialing, or I think tweeting, going, "Stop talking about Jeffrey." And I think they're real tweets. I don't think it's made up. And it's like,
it's real tweets.
He's just resorting to please stop talking about it. Please, like begging people. Please, I beg of you.
It's the same it's the same psychology as when we were 8 and we were with our friends and we liked a girl and we're like, "You like Jen?" And we're like, "No, I don't. No, I don't." I'm like, why are you getting all red then? Every single one of his posts is so red. He's getting red in every post.
Yeah, the picture even gets redder at each post. But I think anything is freaking possible. I just saw the new contact, the name I knew from my JFK years, when I was obsessed with that when I was in high school because I loved the movie. And you know me, we talked about about this guy who came out. He was CIA operative. Names like Bercelis.
Well, they definitely dropped some legit JFK stuff this weekend.
Yeah. The CIA was not. Oswald wasn't the operative, but like he was dealing with operatives, and then the name of the guy that he was dealing with, he went by Howard, and it was a code name. And the guy later on headed up the group that was supposed to look into it, and he said, "They go, we can't find this Howard guy. Can you do anything? We know anything about Howard?" They go, "It's not coming up on our radar." And it turns out he was the guy. Like he was Howard. He was the CIA contact for Oswald. And I'll tell you, I love the movie. You know me, I'm a UFO guy, all this, but I really was at the point with JFK stuff where I was like, I don't think it was a purposeful conspiracy. I always thought it was like, hey, they knew, but they didn't do anything. Almost like what people think 9/11 was. Hey, this information's coming through some FBI and some CIA desks, but we're just going to let it happen because of some politics and because of like the whole Cuba mess and all this. But I guess it was way more orchestrated than that. They must have known this. They knew this guy's fucking movements. If they knew that he was involved in this scuffle with these like Teens for Cuba thing, that was the whole thing. This guy set up this group, Teens for Cuba, that got into it in New Orleans with Oswald, and then we're on TV debating Oswald. It's in the movie. It's in the JFK the movie, and this guy Howard, real name Roy something.
Online.
What?
I bet you can. I bet you can find the debates.
They have footage of the debates, yeah. And I think it was a thing where it was like just by 3 steps over, this guy was just keeping an eye on Oswald, and so you don't think that he knew Oswald? They don't have. They weren't monitoring Oswald's fucking postal activity, and he was getting a Mannlicher Carcano rifle under the name A. Hidell. Like, you don't think they were like had guys in his garbage looking at the fucking boxes? Come on, man, this is like the CIA.
I was surprised when you were like,
I know
when you kind of like came up with a more prosaic consequence, like you were, and then to your point, when I went to Dallas Comedy Club, or I forget, it was a wedding, and I was in Dallas and I saw the shot. It's a shot you can make. The problem is that that's not the shot that killed him. It's not this one.
It's not that one. Yeah.
It's not that one. And to your point, I think that I think that this is if this turned you around, that's great. But that also shows to me that this JFK info is not gonna be enough, guys.
No.
If you want Epstein to come in, it's not gonna be enough.
No, it's not. No, and also it just proves, and it actually fits into what the show's about. It fits into UFOs because what it's showing you is that it's not that you're not a tinfoil hat person to think that there's entities moving on the outside of legitimate government, legitimate law. Like,
No.
yeah, like it's, and you would always have your guesses and you would hear about all these things. But now, if this, you know, if this Lockheed Martin thing and this retroactive procurement program of these craft is actually for real, and they get down to the nitty gritty of that, then you see that like there's these people and these groups that are just like, we have carte blanche. We just do what the fuck we want. We're not held accountable by any sort of elections or any sort of laws or anything. We're doing our UFO stuff. We just want to be the first to get the thing, the technology, whatever it is. We're doing the JFK stuff, even though we're doing it cloak and dagger, and we'll just make it really, really believable and unbelievable at the same time. So it's almost like all these things are coming true that everybody was talking about back in the day. You know, all these things that you were like in the 60s, you know, you had Camelot before this guy got killed, right? People kind of just trusted their government, and you probably could more than that.
Profiles in Courage, that book that JFK wrote, is like such a joke. Like if you read it, you're like, this is, and it got like the Pulitzer or something. And you read it, and you're like, and he's just like, I was just staying up late at night with my boyfriends talking policy. You were up to your fucking nose in pussy, dude. Don't pretend that you weren't. We know you had. We read the Seymour Hersh book. We know you had probably gonorrhea in there.
Burning the midnight oil with Elizabeth Taylor.
It's crazy, man. But look, we got a huge show today.
Yes.
He was on our live show and he's back, and we're talking more just like what's going on in the UAP, UFO, paranormal world today. And boy, am I excited, Sean, because I am doing it from home. I wasn't feeling that good. I didn't want to drive in, but I do have my alien for our UFOs, and for our supernatural, I have my mom. So we're all good. I knew I was going to make a stop you on that. I'm going to be in the city next weekend in New York doing shows, so check me around on that. Sean, do you have anything? This is for next week.
Yeah. Next week, I know I'm around. I'm in the city doing shows, and
so if you want to see us in the city, we'll be in the city doing shows. We have more stuff coming up in the fall. So.
But guys, right now, enjoy our second episode with like one of my favorite people in comedy, and like, you know, I grew up watching this. Like, I was so excited when he did the live show, and to have him back a second time is such like an honor. Enjoy the episode with
Michael Ian Black. Dude, thank you so much for doing this.
I mean, I feel like I already did it. It's the thing. I feel like we already have been through this exercise.
We did. Welcome to Burbs Bros. We did do a live version of this.
It was great.
It was fantastic.
It's now, you know, it will be released with the Snyder cut when we finally get the sound right. Which, by the way, speaking of friggin' Superman, I had no idea you were in. Superman's great, by the way. If nobody's seen Superman, it's great. And big surprise, Michael's in the movie. Michael, how much Billy Bush did you study to get that role right? I loved it, by the way, because like before that, it was like J.K. Simmons, where he was like angry at everything, and your whole character is like, maybe. Sounds pretty good. Like it's amazing.
You studied every take
James Gunn,
except for the one on the bus. You got right up to the one on the bus, up to the grab the pussy tape, and you're like, all right, I got my fill of the research.
James Gunn contacted me and said, do you want to be in Superman? And I said, do I play Superman? He said, you do not, but you will be playing Tucker Carlson. And I said, I'm in. So that's what I'm playing. It's more Tucker Carlson than Billy Bush. I actually just came from seeing it before I signed on to do the podcast here.
This is the first time you've seen it?
I hadn't seen it. They invited me to the premiere, you know, but it's all the way in Los Angeles, California. I live in Savannah, Georgia, and I'm speaking.
House.
Yeah, I'm speaking to you today from the Poconos, where I'm hanging out. And so we saw the movie in the Poconos, and very entertaining. Thought I was terrific, and now here we are.
Great.
Are you? You get able to do the IMAX, or you just straight up?
Oh, just straight up. I can't. I'm an older gentleman. You know, if I sit in an IMAX, there's no telling what could happen. I could slip into an epileptic seizure, or I could fall into the heart might just give out at this point in my life. You know, I can't be sitting in IMAX.
I got you.
But I mean, how apropos. We're talking about an alien. We're here on the Alien Podcast. Fabulous.
Oh yeah, it all fits
Fabulous
together.
Well,
stuff.
I mean, like, look, we're not done with the Superman questions because Mr. Terrific used drones as weapons,
Yeah.
look like boogospheres. Are you James Gunn or Margot Kidder CIA? What's going on? This seems like a lot of UAP stuff was dropped in this movie to get us ready for disclosure. Am I off base here?
I hadn't really considered that. But now that I'm replaying the film in my head, yeah. And I think the message is clearly of the film, if you haven't seen it, extraterrestrial life is real and it's benevolent. That was the message of the film. They're coming and they're going to be your friends. That was the message, and I applaud it.
I'm dying
It
to
was
see
awesome. It's the first time I really did feel like with Sin City, I felt like I was reading the comic book, and this one I felt like I was reading the comic book. It's the only other.
Yeah, it's very true to the comics, which I liked. I thought it was a really smart movie, a smart superhero movie, because I thought that James Gunn, I thought did a lot of like really sort of clever things to set up this world and anchor Superman in it, and you can see how he's building out the universe through this film. I just thought it was really smart. I thought, like, when I saw the trailer and I saw that crypto was in it, I was like, I don't know. But it turns out,
Killed it, man.
goddamn dog steals the film. That goddamn ET dog. Oh, tremendous
not-
performance by the dog.
It's probably not good for actors long term, but it's great in the movie.
Yeah. Terrible for once the dogs start taking over all the actors' jobs, it's just game over.
there's like-
Game over.
Everything
Golden
becomes
playing Airbud is smoking a cigarette right now. God damn it! I gotta compete with this shit now.
Airbud becomes the producer from Godfather. He's like, a dog in my position cannot afford to look ridiculous.
Well, Michael, we were talking about this, and we'd love to get your opinion on this. Did they tell us all this Kennedy info so we didn't ask who killed Epstein? And follow up, will we get disclosure just so Trump can take the scent off Epstein and be like, look, plebeians?
There's been
Wait, go back, because what's the RFK news that?
No,
that just
JFK.
went down
JFK.
away?
It's the assassination.
So-
Oh, JFK. Oh, what was that news? That the CIA was monitoring. What's his face, Lee Harvey Oswald, and they're just admitting to it now, and blah, blah,
which
blah.
we kind of it's just that they have more hard facts that where a key player came into focus where they were like, oh yeah, this is the guy, and what was happening was he was kind of from afar was manipulating like the actions of Oswald. So this guy started this Teens Against Cuba type scenario, whatever it was, and then he had that's the ones that got into the fight with Oswald on the street in New Orleans, and this guy was behind the group, like he started it, like he started the group, and his name was something I forget, something with a B, his actual name, but in the inner workings of this back and forth, he went by Howard. So when he started the group, he just went by Howard. They knew him as Howard. And then when they're investigating all the Oswald stuff, they're like, this guy Howard keeps popping up. And they're like, do you know anything about him? And he was like, nah, we couldn't find anything on a Howard. And he was Howard. So the fact being is like, it just gives more credible evidence to be like, yeah, they knew way more than they let on for 60, 70 years. You know, they just knew more.
So is the thought that they manipulated Oswald, or is the thought that and that the CIA is ultimately culpable, or is the thought that Oswald was still acting independently? He just happened to be associated with this group.
So, like I said to Dan, because I was into this in high school because JFK came out when I was in high school. my theory on this, from this news story, is telling you.
By the way, I thought it was so brave when he came out. I mean, in that day and age, you know what I mean? People weren't doing that. I thought it was so brave. Good for him.
So I think what it showed, because my theory, after reading everything and watching everything, and my theory, not that I know anything, but my theory was that the FBI and the CIA knew about Oswald, and they were just kind of like, and we'll just let it happens. It happens. It doesn't because Oswald's brother wanting to smash to break up the CIA and heavily decimate the FBI, and he had really a lot of plans for that kind of stuff. So I think that based off this new news, I think they were kind of manipulating his actions somewhat, but it shows that the monitoring was probably way more intense than you'd assume if they're having him involved with this Teens Against Cuba group. And so they're going to know. I was just telling Dan, he ordered that rifle. I think he did all the stuff, but I think they were like, hey, I think they knew he ordered the rifle. I think they had guys on him. I think they had guys interacting with him like 2 and 3 deep. You know what I'm saying? So not that I'm saying they told him, hey, do this, and he did it like the patsy, like he said, but I think that he was being played from afar and being watched way more stringently than we were to assume over the years, or being told over the years.
And it was CIA officer.
That makes me feel kind of...
Joe.
What's his name?
CIA officer George Joanides.
Okay, yeah, that's.
I think Cuban.
Whose name does pop up if you read enough books. It does pop up in JFK lore. Yeah.
See, the JFK thing has never interested me in the same way that this other conspiratorial stuff does. I don't know why. Maybe just because I didn't have any. I mean, I didn't know the guy. Maybe that's it. I just didn't know the guy. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I
Before
think
my time.
For me, it's either because it's nothing or it's so depressing. Like, those are the two options. There's no like, oh, well, the U.S. government turns out great, because either they like had the worst Secret Service protection plan ever, or they were behind it.
Well, you know what they have going for them with things like this that happen in history is there's a phenomenon that happens on a hive mind type scenario that happens where something random happens to the human race, and people go, well, it must be something, right? You've heard that before. It must be a conspiracy because this just couldn't happen. Like, it was uncalled for that this guy would have been shot in the middle of Dallas. But at the same time, doesn't mean both are true. That this guy was being played, and this guy is sadly, like, the CIA was involved, and also there's millions of parts of this that are just happenstance, like the Jack Ruby thing. Jack Ruby thing was completely random. Him shooting Oswald, he had his dogs with him. They were in the car. He was getting a Western Union thing for one of his dancers at the strip club that he owned. So it's like, that was random, but then you also have this guy, that was him, Johannes, whatever his name is. I think so. You have enough random stuff plus purposeful stuff. That's where you get your giant conspiracy, your batshit conspiracy from.
Now, have you guys talked about the alleged UFO link to all of this?
Yes, I've heard. We haven't talked about it yet, but I've heard of this.
We haven't talked about it, but we would love to hear about it.
What are you thinking?
So I don't know that much about it because it just seems so absurd on its face. But in UFO circles, there is some speculation that part of the reason, if not the reason, that he was killed, and in this case it would be by the CIA or elements within the CIA, was that JFK had been read in on the program and was all about disclosure and was going to disclose, and the powers that be said, "Not so fast, kid," and they took him out. Now, I don't subscribe to that. I haven't seen any evidence to support that. I know that there is some sort of circumstantial evidence, but it just seems so crazy to me. And that's the thing with this field. It's like everything in it is so crazy that I don't know how anybody is able to sort of pick and choose which is the crazy stuff they choose to believe.
Yeah.
It's all insane.
Yeah.
So you can go, well, of course, aliens have nothing to do with JFK being assassinated. But by saying that, you're saying, well, yeah, but obviously aliens are real. Obviously, there's these extraterrestrial species that come down to Earth, and it didn't have anything to do with JFK being killed. But we could, or there's, I don't believe that JFK was assassinated because of aliens, but I believe in mantis beings.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where you draw the line.
It's a smorgasbord of what you're going to believe in regards to UFOs.
There's a great
right,
show
and it's all in
about about what Michael's talking about, the JFK assassination being linked to UAPs, came out at late 90s. The guy Bryce Zabel, who does the podcast with our buddy Ross Coldheart. So,
and what is he?
Yep.
What is? You know what he says about it? What's like the?
It's what Michael was describing.
Okay.
It's like I just got through the pilot, but it's clearly disclosure based, and
there's documents involved, right? That's one of the red flags.
Like, it's basically like, I mean, it's like he's like a Project Blue Book guy, like searching through everything and kind of. But my question, I mean, do you guys, in my mind, like the only thing crazier than this Epstein story would be aliens, or barring like a major terrorist attack that would take the news, which, by the way, I really hope that's not what they do or someone does. But I think that the second, I do think that this Epstein thing is a huge problem for Trump, and I think this is the only thing that would get away. I'm begging you, Trump. Okay, we'll forget about Epstein. Just let us know about aliens.
Right. So your current theory, and I want to believe this theory, is that Trump will be forced into disclosure as a distraction from the Epstein stuff.
Yes, as a don't look at me being a pedophile. Look at the plebeians.
and you can. I was telling Dave.
I think it could happen. I know that's crazy, but I think
you can see him melting down from it on his Twitter and stuff like that. And one thing I'll say is that if he doesn't do it, and we all believe that disclosure is kind of happening, is trickling out, whatever it is. The fact that he didn't do it shows you how ironclad this cabal that goes on above the Congress is, and how much. So he's like, they might have talked to him to a point where he's like, it's not an option. Like I can kind of hum and haw when I'm asked about it and go, people see weird stuff. Yep. But to come out and be like, because that would do it for a lot of people, because he's so the news all the time, 24 hours a day. And if he was like, hey, it's true, they told me it's true, they would just believe him because his people would believe him, and then it'd be so much news him saying it, then that would force like legitimate disclosure. I think you're right. The problem
with that is that you're right. His people would believe it, and everybody else would be like, this guy's fucking out of his mind. Like he's the last messenger you want delivering this news.
Yes.
Because by virtue of it being from him, it's gonna become politicized in a way that it need not be.
Yes.
Incidentally, I disagree. I don't think disclosure is ever coming, not from an official channel anyway. That doesn't seem likely at all to me, probable in any way, shape, or form.
Here's my only other reason it could happen, and it's very tiny, and it's kind of based on another conspiracy theory. But Pasulka, Gary Nolan, top names in this field, have kind of hinted that when Elon Musk has denied the existence of NHI, that he's full of shit and he has a craft. That's an unspoken conspiracy theory. And the reason. Let me just finish.
Go ahead.
And that the reason that that we haven't seen this is because it's like Lockheed Martin possibly having the Tic Tac.
Third party.
Like he wants to get all the financial gain from it. This could be a way for Trump to be like, all right, I'm going to fuck this guy's revenue stream and give everybody this. That's it. That was my big thought.
Sure. Sure. It's a thought. And
I think it's so.
Yeah, I'm.
For it to be so at the tip of their tongue to come out with this, I think that, like you said, about no disclosure ever. I think they probably convinced him in some sort of way, like this just doesn't get out, like, because obviously if he had the chance already, he might have done it when they were going back and forth and been like, well, he's got a craft. And that would be an even worse way for it to come out. Like when they were name calling back and forth after they broke up. And he goes, well, he's got a UFO. And it's like, oh, Jesus Christ. And then actually what that would be the opposite effect at that point. What it would do is make this thing fantastical again and make it go away in the public eye. And they'd be like, all right, this is just this fucking lunatic doing this and none of it's real. And then a blanketed thing would go out and then you'd be back in the dark ages with disclosure.
That's kind of what I think would happen too. I agree with that. I don't know. I guess the further into this I get, the more I'm convinced that the government itself doesn't know what this is. Whether they have recovered craft or not, I don't know. I do believe Grush, in the sense that I believe Grush was reporting back exactly what he was told, but we have yet to hear from him any firsthand accounts, even though obviously there's a lot of rumors to the effect that he has those firsthand accounts. I'm not convinced that there's any successful reverse engineering, although I guess the Lockheed Martin thing makes it, I guess it's possible, and it's certainly not the first time I've heard that rumor. But the deeper I get into this, and maybe we talked about this the last time you had me on when you destroyed the audio of the terrific appearance that I did.
Yeah, Pat.
Yeah, that was my fault. Sorry, Michael.
Pat's our Oswald.
I'm less. That's your Howard. Are you kidding?
Yeah,
That's the puppet master right there.
He's an asset.
That's true. That's the reason it's not blown up, guys. Fucking CIA. God damn it.
But you were saying last time.
The more I learn about it, the more I get into it, the less interested I am in the thing that I think is so compelling to a lot of people, which is the nuts and bolts aspect of it, the craft aspect of it. To me, while that's interesting, and I'm interested in exotic technology, it's less interesting to me than the consciousness component and like the psionics component, if that's true, and the remote viewing component, and the overlap with near-death experiences, and the overlap with astral projection, and like all of these like weird sort of fringy things, of which I'm convinced are real in the sense that people are having these experiences or believe that they're having these experiences. Like I'm convinced that all that is subjectively real. And there seems to be a very direct tie-in some capacity to UFOs, to angels and poltergeists and all of this shit. That's where my interest is. My interest is in the sort of the phenomenological part of it, rather than the physics part of it, rather than the craft part of it.
The basis.
So
of
that's
reality.
that's where I've landed.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why whether the government discloses or not, to me, has become less and less interesting. Obviously, it would cause all kinds of secondary and tertiary effects that would be global, and I'd be fascinated to see how that plays out. But it's less interesting to me than the kind of weird woo-woo shit that the more I look into it, the more I'm convinced is real.
Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly. I think that's the most interesting part, because it's coming from the more and more it's discussed, it's coming from these really believable places. Surviving. We talked about it when Christina was on the show a couple weeks ago, and the Surviving Death did it for me on Netflix. Pretty hardcore. I think you've seen. I think we talked about it. I think you saw it, Michael. And I think you're exactly right. I think it's all tied together. And I think what ends up happening, it gets built up to a point where it kind of takes its human form. So if it gets to Lockheed, it's Lockheed using elements of this psionic and this consciousness aspect of this thing to turn it into something that we can use for war and just dominating as we've been dominating. And the fact that Coulthard came back out and said that these Tic Tacs possibly are, or he said they're psionically driven, that's when you're like, holy shit. And if we're at that point, then once again, it's like these third-party companies, and they've even trumped the, for lack of a better phrase, trumped the Congress on these things. They are just you're getting subsidized, and you're just lapping what the government even knows about what you're doing. So obviously it's like you have all these legitimate government sources saying we don't have anything close to that, and then in 2004 you have something that's 100 years, 1,000 years ahead of what the government knows that you have. That's even that's another arm of this bullshit conspiracy. Besides the military side, you have the companies hiding from this guy, hiding from that, whatever it is. So I agree. The interesting part is people are like, no, I saw this thing and it's true, and they're sober sources and they're for real, or they do this thing. It wasn't a dream. I was totally awake. This happened. I saw this. You add up all anecdotal, and I think it battles majestic 12 fucking documents and everything like that. I think if you have thousands and thousands of things that you're like, give me 1% of these being true, and then the whole thing's fucking true. That's it. And I think that's very possible. And I think, like you said, subjective is the perfect word because you have to be in that realm, that frequency, in order to experience this stuff. So that's why somebody like me or like Dan, even though how much we want something like this to happen, it hasn't for either of us really. So you're still behind that. You're trying to get into that VIP room of consciousness. You're trying to get into that thing where I know what you mean because I had my own version of this, and I'm past that point of believing. And it becomes, it's not faith anymore. It's like, no, this is a fact. You know.
I'm almost positive that there's an afterlife and that our energy keeps going. Michael, have you landed on anything yet as far as the afterlife and as far as what you think happens next?
No, I'm just excited to die.
Me too, man. And by shameless plug, we will have somebody in a couple, hopefully in August, from the Division of Perceptual Studies, which is what the guy from the Netflix doc, he's retired.
Dude, it's kind of like, even though you just said like the afterlife, it's like, it's not even afterlife if you're really paying attention to this consciousness stuff. It's just, it's kind of like you ever look up what people see when they're on, they have the DMT effects, what happens. I've never done it, but they have what happens to people on that. And they're like, there's people that are convinced, they're like, I went to a place. This place is there when I wasn't there. And I knew it. And it felt more real than reality. So that's not an afterlife. That's not some magical, you're in heaven. That's like a thing you're realizing is that, our science is not even where it should be. And the true nature of reality involves whatever this next thing happens. Especially that's why Surviving Death is so great when they talk about all the different effects that happens to a human that are unexplainable, but it happens time and time again. Like the visions people have right before they die, and the nurses, it's just matter of fact for these people when they, hey, well, she talked to her grandma last night, so she's done. And the doctor goes, well, I want to try a couple of treatments. And they go, you didn't hear me. She talked to her grandma last night. She's done. She had an hour-long conversation with her grandma. It's like stuff like that. Or the woman who was the doctor and she went somewhere. It wasn't DMT. She was dead for a half hour. And she, at the end of the whole thing, they make it, she tells this really great story about visiting a place and there was these beings and they tell her stuff. She wasn't necessarily religious. She kind of got like a pretty straightforward vibe. And at the end, she tells you, by the way, I'm a doctor. It's stuff like that to me that really, really drives it home. It's stuff like that that's like, or the reincarnation episode, which I was like, I believe it's not reincarnation. I just think it's these radio station things. I just think the consciousness is bouncing around and then hopping in a tuning fork and then getting out and then going in and getting. It's like it's just a free for all. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, I think that's sort of where my views are. Also, I think consciousness is a free for all. Yeah, the idea of reincarnation. It seems to be pretty well established, although I think the distinction that you made is really interesting and one that I think I've come to sort of come around on, which is that whatever this is, and by this I mean capital T this. Yeah. It seems like that one explanation for reincarnation, as you just said, is that consciousness, it's that when it's typically children who remember these things. Yeah. When they're remembering them, it's conceivable that they're not remembering essentially their own past life so much as they're tuning into a pre-existing frequency that for whatever reason is still trying to communicate something.
So it's not them actually, it's the signal. It's them picking up the signal of the dead.
Yes, except that if you take it far enough, what all faiths, or I think most faiths, say is that it's not that there's no you, there's no me. So there is that sort of universal consciousness, and me as a manifestation of that universal consciousness can tap back into that sort of larger universal consciousness and say, oh yeah, there was this guy and he was a Hollywood agent in the 30s and that was me and I remember everything about it. But it's not you in the sense that you're individuated. It's that you're tapping into this sort of universal consciousness of which that was also a part. And you and that you're just an aspect of that larger consciousness. And
it's like
when
the
we
wrist
manifest,
becoming aware of like the arm or the body. Essentially,
or maybe a better way to say it is I'm a finger here and you're a finger here and you're a finger here, but we're all the same hand. We're all the same hand, and that hand is attached to the same arm, attached to the same body, which is, and you can extrapolate that as far as you want to go into all of life. And when I say life, I don't necessarily mean organisms the way that we think about them. I mean, there could be categories and strata of life that we're utterly unaware of.
I totally agree, and it reminds me, and it's not exactly the same point, but it reminds me of what it seems to me from that reincarnation and what I've looked up in that episode is that it's almost like you're finding your bearings consciously when whatever that age is when a lot of these kids are having these nightmares. Like you said, these consciousness are flowing in and out, whatever you want to call it, or they're part of this. They're part of a bigger thing at first. It's almost like a caterpillar stage of consciousness. Because I remember I listened to a podcast once. I might have been like I forget what it was. It might have been Radio Lab.
Sounds like the worst fucking jam band. Caterpillar Consciousness with Phil Lesh.
So basically, all the ex-members of Traveling Wilburys and Grateful Dead. Super group. Anyway, but so... It's not exactly the same thing, but it reminds me of it because what they tried to do, they did an experiment once where they wanted to prove that is a caterpillar the same thing, it's the same being as the butterfly it turns into. So what they did was they kind of traumatized the caterpillar at caterpillar stage, and then it went into metamorphosis, and then they used the same disturbances with the butterfly, and it reacted the same way. So what they realized was even though all the parts jumble up and then turn into the butterfly, which is what happens apparently in the cocoon, I didn't know that until I listened to this thing. Even though that happened, it came out with the same trauma of that the caterpillar had, and was like, I remember that. So you're not the same exact thing, but you're remembering part of what that thing remembered. So it kind of reminds me of that. But because I think what's happening there is that if you're that age, for certain people, say you're on this frequency, you're kind of getting your footing, and then these things are trying to come in, and you have your consciousness, but like you guys were saying, it's the other ones are kind of like coming in bits and pieces. You're getting like 31 flavors of fucking consciousness, and some you're picking up and be like, what the fuck? And you're right, because it's bouncing around, and it's a more willing antenna because you're a blank slate at that point. You're 3 years old. You haven't solidified your human existence where it's really 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 stringent and really kind of down the middle, and you're going by the societal norms and stuff. You're pretty way more. Your mind is way more, especially if consciousness on the outside. It seems like it's just a one big giant blank piece of paper.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, guys, there is some literal phenomenon though. This isn't like a different. There was an F-16 collision with a UAP, I guess, leaving in 2023.
Yeah.
This has been all over the news, but the F-16 was completely unharmed, and it looks like one of the small Mr. Terrific drone balls. My question is, I think there's not one article I've looked around that's like dispelling this. Like it's one of the first ones I've seen where they're like, there's not a lot of skeptics for it, which I think says a lot about it. But like the fact that it didn't like impact this thing, and you would think that a projectile going this fast that would be metallic hitting an F-16 jet would create some damage, but it didn't.
So they're both traveling. They're both in midair. They collide.
Yeah.
And the F-16 is fine.
F-16 is fine. No damage.
And
that's what they said. Now, I don't know if that's a lie, but that's what they said.
And did they say that there was an impact felt by the pilot of the F-16?
Yeah, it's I'm reading it now from lovely Fox News, but it was January 2023, an unidentified object collided with the left side of an F-16 Viper jet. Struck the clear canopy at the top of the aircraft and was first. Well, the canopy is that the window? Because if that's the window, I could see how that would have bounced off, I guess. But there was no.
If you're traveling at jet speeds, there wouldn't be cracking. There wouldn't be splintering.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, what? This is so fucking weird, right?
Maybe it's a case where it's a collision to us is a little misstep to them. So maybe because of how fast they go and how quickly they can respond, they were able to kind of hit the brakes a little bit before, like their collision. It was way less of a collision because of how good
the mid-air brakes. You're saying hit the mid-air brakes. Slow the jet down to 5 or 6 miles an hour.
No. I'm saying that the object, like whatever it was.
The object.
yeah. Not the F-16. No, that's going full force. That's Top Gun at that point. That's Mach 7.
Very weird. There is not one. There's nothing. There's Who's sitting on this thing? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
So how are they? How are they describing the UAP? And who's describing it?
it was tiny, right?
Fighter pilot.
How is this story
Fighter
coming
pilot.
out?
The fighter pilots coming
And
out.
they-
Well, declassified documents came out. So
I see.
declassified it. But this
And has the pilot gone on record?
I mean, he goes on him in the documents. I don't know if he hasn't corroborated this like since it's come out, but
Right.
yeah, it was Jesus Christ, man. I mean, everything about these things blows my mind. You know, every new fact. Like I think that's why I love the topic so much, because now I've got to be like, well, I mean, like, do they have some sort of protective membrane? Like it opens up a bunch of different areas for me.
Well,
But more interestingly, in that story, are they deliberately protecting us? Because presumably, if something's moving that fast or moving through midair and it's not impacting another object, well, that's deliberate. There's a reason for that, right? I mean, because if you're just if it didn't care, it would just go right through the thing.
I mean,
yeah.
Unless some of these NHI aren't as all knowing as we think, and they fuck up, right? I mean, like,
Sure.
Yeah, but
But if they fuck up, then it seems like the F-16 would have crashed.
Yeah.
That's my point.
or not, because even when you hear about there's other cases you hear about, like there's in that one book, that Leslie Kane book, which is anecdotal, but it's all military based anecdotal evidence, and they talk about the Iranian pilot that she talked to who was chasing it down, and his instruments, when he was trying to fire at the thing, and then it did that thing that it comes up time and time again where his instruments, his weapons malfunctioned, but he was getting orders. They thought it was like some, us or whoever, and the orders were keep going, and he got to the point where the plane was getting to the point where it couldn't operate anymore because he was getting out of the realm of where he could fly. Like that's how high he was getting, and he was like, and everything was, and then his instruments getting fucked up. But they don't know if it was the craft itself or if it was because of it was going exceeding the limitations of the jet itself. But then this guy, I think, almost crashed or whatever, got hurt. But it wasn't the UAP. It was evading him. It was leaving.
That Iranian guy died.
Did he die? No.
Wait.
No, I think she interviewed him for the book. So
No,
I don't
the
think-
general.
Yeah,
No, he wrote his own chapter for that book.
maybe
Yeah, okay.
So if he died, it was from beyond the grave that he wrote that.
Proves another
Prove
element
us.
of the phenomenon. The phenomenon keeps tricking us, guys. It keeps tricking us each time.
So besides,
So I just
go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I just read that Fox News story, and what it implies is that it hit a drone, and in 2023, conceivably, yeah, you could hit some sort of commercial drone and not have it impact the F-16. I would imagine, if that's what it was, entirely possible. But it seems like they would have ruled that out. They would
Wouldn't
have
there
said
be
no,
a
it's just a
crack, though,
hobbyist
to your
drone.
point? Like, if it's going that fast.
I don't know. I mean, those
crack.
things are so light, though, right? Those drones are so light.
Depending on what you
I haven't held one. We should buy a drone for the show, though.
Yeah, well, I tell you, if one of them, if
100%.
drones go from everything from what you get at a sharper image up until a Tic Tac, it's like how many levels of these things do they have? Like so the operable ones that they're using, I would guess maybe not that big, but they're probably heavier duty than you'd think.
I can imagine the drone me and Sean are going to buy will not have these capabilities. At most, it'll maybe like fuck things up at the Tappan Zee. That's as high as it's gonna go.
You just fuck up the George Washington Bridge. The other thing that popped up, which I wanted to ask Michael about this. Another video of one of those like smoke like ones came on New York Post. And New York Post is New York Post, but if they're just sharing the video, and there's multiple versions of these. I don't think it's weather phenomenon.
Circles, right? Like
It was the black smoky. It almost looks like the smoke monster from Lost, but it just thin and in just a perfect circle. But there's another famous video like that I think ended up on like Daily News or New York Post where somebody was shooting it from a plane and it was like kind of streaming like a streamer, but it was like deliberately moving and it almost looks organic. It doesn't. It looks like smoke that's purposefully moving. Have you seen these?
What Jake Barber
Michael?
is talking about, yeah.
I'm looking at it now.
Yeah.
But they're showing me
It was-
advertisements.
it was
so I've seen a glimpse of it.
It's in
but I haven't
Kentucky.
seen the
This
full
one's
video.
this one's a circle, but it looks like it's putting itself in the. If it's weather, I remember the other one I saw. No, I have never heard a debunking of that. You hear about ball lightning, you hear about other stuff. That's legitimate. Like I've seen videos of ball lightning. I'm like, oh, I could mistake that as a UFO easily, an orb, whatever it is. But ball lightning's super, super, super rare. This, if it's a weather experiment, like they say, what like that. Somebody on the pod talked about the dragon cloud thing, the rainbow dragon thing that looks it's a cloud that looks magical, looks like but it's weather, it's condensation. The videos I've seen of these things, I've seen a couple different ones. It looks like it's moving on its own. It's not moving in a formation. It's not moving where it's not dissipating. It's not going away like some sort of weird, like you'll see like a dark cloud in the middle of a bunch of white clouds. So I'm curious if these have ever been debunked, because it's a kind of a different version of what we're talking about here, and it kind of fits into what the guys when those 3 ones came out and they're like, hey, it's the rubber ducky, it's this and the other thing, where it's like
Skywatcher with the 9 categories.
Sky with the 9 categories. It's like how many different shapes of this things you're going to get, because the Tic Tacs, it's Lockheed Martin. Yeah, I the first time I heard about a Tic Tac was the Fravor story. So it being Lockheed Martin would make a lot of sense. And also, if we were going to, I think I was telling you this, Dan, the other day, if we were going to make something like that, it probably would be that kind. It almost looks like you put AirPod Pros in it. You know what I'm saying? Like it has a very like Steve Jobs varnish to it. So
maybe that's who it is. It's Steve Jobs' body. He was like, I'm going to become drones.
But when you have these, they're so irregular. They're so irregular, and they're so organic looking that some of them, like the jellyfish or this, where you're like, hey, this isn't. I don't think this is military tech. It'd have a little bit more like sleekness if it was like like the jet or the stealth bomb or whatever it is. So these, I'm so curious what you have what you think about these.
I mean, I have no idea. To me, it doesn't. To me, it looks like something, like you said, organic, but that could mean the result of some sort of explosion or smoke plume or something like that. If you haven't seen it, so it looks like a smoke ring. It looks, but it's not perfect. It's not perfectly symmetrical. It's sort of in a weird shape, and it's dark colored, and it has a smoky appearance to it. I don't know what it is. I would be very hesitant to say it's anything alien. Just based on this video that I'm watching now, it doesn't seem to be moving in any intelligent way. It's not going up or down. It's not reversing direction. It's just it seems to be sort of hanging there in the sky the way you would expect something natural to do if it was formed by smoke or vapor of some kind.
But not dissipating.
I don't know.
Not dissipating at all. Staying.
It does
dark,
not. Yeah.
Very dark and very solid for however long that
Yep.
video. I don't know how long the video is, but yeah.
Guys, there's plenty of stuff for us to be terrified of that we've made. Grock tries to uncancel himself this week by apologizing and blaming it on depreciated code. My question is, can I use that excuse in my normal day life? Can I just be, I'm sorry, baby, I was depreciated code last night.
Of course.
I mean, I'm just like, is this what's gonna? Have we gone to the fact where we're gonna let our AI do the offensive shit, and then we're gonna have the AI apologize for the person who's putting into the code? What the fuck? What's next?
I have to admit something. For the first 20 minutes I knew these stories, I thought they were talking about Gronk, not Grock. So I was like, man, I'm like, all the Hitler stuff. I was like, man, CTE is a motherfucker.
Yeah. No, it was very upsetting to see Gronkowski marching in Charlottesville, shouting "Jews will not replace us." I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. And I know that didn't they have there was like a Jewish football player on his team, wasn't there, on the Patriots? Like Edelman, is that his name?
Edelman,
Yeah.
Edelman.
The only Jew to ever play professional football. He couldn't have liked that when Gronk was at Charlottesville either. No, nobody liked that. I think it's not a coincidence that the guy who owns the social media company where Grock started spewing Nazi propaganda is also himself a Nazi.
An Afrikaner. That's how he would describe himself.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're giving the Nazis salute
Yeah.
at a presidential inauguration, not once,
Yeah, a couple
of
times. Yeah.
when you had to take when you had to do an apology tour to Auschwitz because you had tweeted so much anti-Semitic
I forgot he had
shit.
to do the Michael Richards, Jesse Jackson
Yes.
fucking Auschwitz. Holy
Yeah.
shit. How many times
It seems to me that
motherfucker
these
on his phone,
things
dude?
aren't a coincidence. I suspect these things are linked in some capacity. Now I don't know how, but I suspect they're linked.
I think
Grock
they
got
did.
loose and read Elon's personal library at home. That's what he's like, I dipped into the Mein Kampf collection. He has 14 different, 14
I tell you
different
what, man,
versions.
Musk is not going away about this Epstein thing. You know, I don't like Elon Musk at all, but I do think it's entertaining that every time Trump tries to push us under the carpet, he comes out and be like, I saw a video of him figuring Webster. You know, he like just brings up something else.
Webster, Jesus Christ.
Sorry. Well, speaking of of taking advantage of the moment, guys. Jonestown, we were talking about Auschwitz. Another place that has a horrible history, guys. I'm still figuring out hosting. Jonestown is becoming a tourist trap. I guess that they're weighing in on making this a tourist attraction. Obviously, the victims of this
You
aren't.
can imagine.
But I guess
No, but you can imagine Kool-Aid sales there would be through the roof.
right now they haven't built anything, but right now you can pay $750 to visit the clearing where Jim Jones, where all those U.S. citizens that went to go monitor him got shot. So for $750, you can literally go to an airfield and be like, "Oh, there's probably blood here," and that's it.
You know what's crazy? Dan would be. You would go if you had a disposable cash. You would go in a heartbeat.
I had disposable cash.
Yeah.
Who knows what I would buy with disposable?
It might be the opposite that the Kool-Aid sells. You might get there like, yeah, I was at Jonestown, the theme park. Nobody's at the snack bar. Nobody's touching the somebody. They're just like, it's awful.
To me, if I could get the Kool-Aid concession at the Jonestown theme park, man, I feel like I'd be a billionaire within a year. A billionaire.
Michael, I see a show like a version of Is This Cake, but it's people competing. You're the host. Who gets to serve Kool-Aid at Jonestown?
I like it. I like it very much.
He'd be like, is this a briefcase or poison?
I love, you guys both been to the Museum of Death in L.A. in Hollywood on Hollywood Boulevard.
I have not, Dan.
It is like the ultimate tourist trap. It's just like 3 John Wayne Gacy paintings, and you pay $20. But this may beat it, because they're going to be selling the Jim Jones glasses.
Oh God, yeah.
They can make it multicultural. He was very woke as far as race is concerned. He was very progressive.
As far as who he terrorized, who he enslaved in a cult, he was very, very diverse.
Well, I will say Walt Disney probably has, besides the whole mass suicide thing, Walt Disney's probably offended, marginalized groups more than Jim Jones. So,
Well, dude, they have this makes sense.
Sure.
They have the poverty tourism thing they do, where you go in like in Mumbai or whatever it is, and you drive in buses, and people are taking photos of poor people. So this is like this along the same lines, but nobody's there. Like it's weird to show up and and then just,
People are showing up at ground zero
Yeah.
as tourists.
Yeah.
I mean, people like visiting death. That's what we like. People, you can go. I was driving up to the Poconos. You can stop at the Gettysburg
Yeah.
and tromp on the fields where tens of thousands of Americans died. You can do that for free.
we had a video once where I think it was supposed to be Gettysburg, right? Where it was a supposed
a ghost
ghost
in
walking in a field, and it's very convincing, but I don't think it's what it is. Or then there's some. You ever see the ones? Oh, this is actually talking about the consciousness and the afterlife stuff we were talking about. We showed one of the videos a while ago on the pod where people, and it actually fits into Elon as well, because people have Teslas. And Tesla does like the satellite mapping of what the cars in front of you in the street, and they'll be in the middle of nowhere, and it'll just show people walking on the side and then behind the Tesla. I guess you could chalk that up to malfunction, but I think there's a lot of videos of that happening. I'm like,
those
it's
are
kind
just
of
people that
interesting.
have died in Musk's factory that are escaping the car. They're
Just Amazon workers just trying to get to.
Just using Occam's razor here for a second. Is it more likely that it's a computer code problem or phantasms entering from the beyond and showing up on your Tesla. I don't know. I don't know how to weigh those two
It
things.
could go either way. It really could. And at this point, I'm so into this stuff. I trust that more than computers at this point.
But you think they'd be they would be like haunting a Pontiac or a Buick, something a little bit.
Something from back in the day.
Apparently, we talked true crime briefly, so I just wanted to mention this. Apparently, this Georgia teen asked a true crime influencer to look into her parents' murder, even though she was for sure guilty, and the cops discovered it the next day. I'm just going to give it advice. If there are any future murderers or past murderers on our show, what you don't want to do after you murder someone is seek the help of an investigative journalist. Could be a problem. You kind of just want to let it go away.
Because they're really going to try. They're really going to try to figure out who did this thing.
Yeah, having now come from Superman and seeing the kind of work that Lois Lane and her team did, I think that's great advice.
True.
You think like
Because they uncovered Lex Luthor's whole plot, and he's an evil genius. I'm guessing this Georgia teen doesn't have nearly the computational power that Lex Luthor has.
What's the was this the first time they explained the glasses? Because I thought that was great. I don't know if
I thought that was genius.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before. I liked that a lot.
I don't
That
know
they're
what it is.
special glasses.
guys. Dean Kane didn't like it, so we should at least hold some space for Kane. Let's raise Kane a little bit.
Yes, I will hold
great
him.
shit since then. Him and Kevin Sorbo are really the De Niro and
Pacino?
and Pacino of Redbox. Old movies that don't come out on Redbox.
If you're a TikTok investigative journalist, when you tell them they're guilty and you bring the cops to them, do you have to dance while you're doing it? You're guilty.
You passed the manslaughter challenge. All right, our last story, this is actually near me and Sean, but the Great Bigfoot Chase starts in Cortland County, New York. What unintended nightmares could this lead to? I know why Cortland County is doing this, because they don't have the Catskills. So they're like,
Right.
"Fuck,
Like, we need something."
What else are we going to do?
Yeah.
We can only sell so many different honeys from mason jars to make rent here. But my whole thing is what we've discovered, Michael, with the Bigfoot explorations, Bigfoot searches, usually an excuse for guys to just go into the woods and have sex with each other.
Usually or always?
Every single time.
Every single
Well, we've been talking about that where it's like the Bigfoot videos, it's never like UFO videos, even though they're blurry. The Bigfoot videos are like, look at this fur on this tree that we found, like this little piece of fur that could have been from a cat or whatever it is. Or they'll be like, what's that animal screaming in the fog? It's like, oh, come on, dude. But the one thing I will say, and not to legitimize anything, because I'm not a Bigfoot person, but that the fact that it showed the Skinwalker, that it showed up in accounts, that it showed up, they think that Skinwalker might be a portal and that these things were showing up there. They had sightings of Bigfoots at the area of Skinwalker Ranch, if not on the ranch itself. So I'm like, that's weird that it would show up that in reports from there, because it seems so the opposite of that.
Hey, go where you're celebrated. My wife doesn't know it.
Yeah, the whole thing about
Michael?
cryptids to me.
Yeah.
Do I believe in them?
Do you have any?
I mean, no, I don't. It's weird because I kind of don't believe in anything, and I simultaneously believe in everything. So cryptids to me, it's like, yeah, Bigfoot to like. It seems to me if Bigfoot were a thing living out in the Pacific Northwest and in the East Coast and wherever, like we'd have a Bigfoot. Like we would just have a Bigfoot. However, once you introduce the idea of interdimensional big feet, I'm like, okay, that might explain some things.
You get the Jacques Vallée.
Using Occam's razor. Again, using Occam's razor, what's more likely? That Bigfoot doesn't exist or that he's an interdimensional traveler?
Space Bigfoot.
I know where I'm leaning.
Space Bigfoot.
I'm leaning towards space Bigfoot.
Yeah.
To Michael's point, if Bigfoot did exist, he would be in a general commercial with Shaq. You know what I mean? There's no way that he wouldn't be he would be with Shaq all the time. They would be inseparable.
They'd be in a convertible together. Yeah. They just be just like, man, it's the general and Shaq and the Bigfoot just in a convertible, just speeding around a corner.
I love it, man. Well,
But
Michael, thank you so much for doing this, dude.
My pleasure. And if you need me to come back again after you screw up this one, by all means, happy to do it.
Pat, this was recorded, right?
Oh, I was supposed to record this?
Oh, no. I've got like 2 styrofoams connected to the
Howard!
I thought we were just hanging out.
Where can people see you, Mike?
And Superman is where they can see him.
Go fucking see Superman.
Superman's
Bitch.
doing okay, but do you have any live dates that we can?
Yeah, I'm in Portland and Seattle in mid-August, and then I'm in
cool.
Denver right after that, and then I'm doing
clubs, man.
then I'm doing a taping. Yeah, I'm taping my special
You're doing a
on
special?
the 20. I mean, special. It's not Netflix didn't come knocking on my door. You know what I mean? Special.
Where are you taping the special?
Bell House, Brooklyn.
Nice.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Oh,
man. I
we'll,
want to come see
we'll
it.
come by. Yeah, that'd be great.
No, it's okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Man, thank you so much.
I knew I was gonna get shit for that the minute I stopped. Look, I'm lying. No, you're good. Fuck you.
It's okay. It's okay.
Michael, thank you so much. It was such
man.
a
That
pleasure.
was awesome.
And
My
hopefully to see
pleasure.
you soon,
Always
man.
fun talking to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll see you soon.
Class, man.
Take care,
Thanks,
guys.
man. I really appreciate you doing
Thanks,
it.
Ian.
Thank you.